I was really bummed that I couldn't make it out to Vancouver. I was like on the West Coast, like an hour's flight away, and my wisdom teeth just decided to be assholes.
Really? I thought you actually just like decided to say, screw this friendship.
Oh, yeah. So it was, I had a change of heart last minute. I'm like, screw that guy.
Exactly. That's what I thought. So I was sad for
I spent thousands of dollars to fly out this way, and the ultimate screw you would be to fly back to Toronto before we even get to record an episode.
Yeah. I mean, I was wondering for a week what the hell I did wrong to you.
No, so it was like landed in Portland for a vacation, and the teeth just decided, oh, we're just going to get crazy inflamed. And I wasn't even sure at the time that it was the teeth. Like, for all I knew, it was just like my jaw decided to lock up out of stress or something, you know. And but it just didn't get any better over the course of the time I was in Oregon. And it got to the point where, like, the day before I was supposed to fly to Vancouver, I was just in my hotel room, like I couldn't move. No, but I'll try to get out there a couple months from now, and we will finally do the in-person episode that we've been promising the viewership for a long time.
Maybe we'll actually record it like on video just so we have proof.
Yeah, exactly. Just for those doubters out there.
I was just gonna say you kind of missed out on VIFF, but I don't think you missed a whole lot.
No,
this year
because I sounds like you saw a couple of things, but I saw that you rated like the Keira Knightley film Colette like 3 stars out of 5 or something on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
but maybe we can get into that because I haven't even talked about TIFF at all yet either. So
that's true. Okay, let's start the show.
Welcome to episode 37 of the Extra Buttery Podcast. Back after a few weeks break and a little bit of recovery on my part, but we are back with some discussion of the various film festivals that Jason and I have been attending over the past month or so. And we'll get into maybe a bit of discussion over the new Netflix show Maniac, which I watched all the way through during my recovery. And I might touch on a little thing that's been bugging me recently with regard to Netflix and the way they've been operating on the festival scene, which I teased in the end of the last episode. I want to make good on that. But coming to you from Toronto, my name is Robert Snow, and joining me from Vancouver is my co-host Jason Chen. How's it going?
Good. I'm wisdom teeth free, so.
Yeah, when did you get yours out?
Sometime in high school.
Oh yeah? They were like a problem and your dentist said these got to go?
They were going to be a problem. So yeah, so my jaw is like too small for the wisdom teeth coming in.
Right.
And they were like coming in sideways.
Oh yeah, that's pretty common.
Yeah, and then so when they took the x-ray too, they found like another tooth, like another tooth after my adult teeth in my like chin.
Oh,
it's
weird.
like a 3rd generation tooth kind of. Like I was like a shark basically. So they had to like lift up my tongue and then cut it.
Oh.
And then take the tooth out from there.
Yikes. Man.
Yeah. But hey, I didn't take a single painkiller.
Oh, brave. That is brave.
Are you on painkillers?
Well, I mean, like Tylenol just until my jaw. I did and here's the thing: I haven't even had my teeth out yet.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So like this whole time, it's been just inflammation back there where the teeth are. And the dentist looked at me like the day after I flew back to Toronto, and he was like, "Yeah, we can't even open your jaw without like hurting it. So we're just gonna put you on antibiotics, knock down the inflammation, give you like simple painkillers because there's no reason why the teeth have to come out right away. They're just giving you a lot of pain." And
I thought you had it taken out.
No, that's the thing. Like I assumed that they had to be taken out right away because that's how much pain I was in, but it was just inflammation. And so anyway, the pain has been under control, and like I barely need any pills or anything, just the antibiotics. But
see, when you get them out and you get the painkillers, that's a good time to start watching bad movies.
Yeah,
because it's like you're so out of it that like every bad movie is probably hilarious to you.
Yeah. No, so compared to like, I'm sure I'll go through that in the next month or two when I actually get them out for real. But yeah, this one recovery from this little flare up did give me a chance to tackle this new Netflix show, Maniac, which I think I binged in an entire day.
My head doesn't work right. I thought maybe these people could fix me. Sounds stupid.
That doesn't sound stupid to me.
Okay, people, let's begin.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
My mind is playing tricks.
I've done that before. I did that with Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, and you know these Netflix originals that are 10 or 12 episodes. It's actually pretty easy to knock them out in a day if you're not doing anything else. Did you see any part of this one yet? The one with Emma Stone and Jonah Hill?
No, I have not.
I highly recommend it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's the entire series. Every episode is directed by Karijoji Fukunaga from True Detective. I don't know what it's based on, like source material wise, but I think Fukunaga developed it as a project of his own. Like he was the producer on it as well, and it essentially. It follows Emma Stone and Jonah Hill's characters who are strangers to each other, both young people with different kind of psychological problems. Emma Stone is kind of estranged from her dad a little bit, kind of living on her own with a bunch of roommates in New York. And she's evidently got some sort of like personality disorder or something like that, a history of a really bad fight with her sister in her past. Meanwhile, Jonah Hill's character is the fifth son of a wealthy industrialist family in New York. He's kind of looked down upon by everyone in his family, the black sheep. He had some sort of like psychological break at some point in his like teenage years. That is like the one time that his disease got out of control. But other than that, he's just pretty like low key, kind of monotone, and kind of grappling with seeing things that aren't really there. So both of these characters end up in a kind of next level drug trial by this mysterious company. And the drug trial is actually led by a kind of visionary scientist played by Justin Theroux. And it's the series descends as the drug trial begins into this world of shared dreams and alternate dimensions and cosmic connections. So it's
it sounds crazy.
Yeah, and it's beautifully shot. The cinematography will just knock you down. Fukunaga I can't remember the DP that Fukunaga worked with, but it's worth watching for the visuals alone. Not to mention all of the hilarious characters that Jonah Hill and Emma Stone are versions of their characters that Emma Stone and Jonah Hill end up playing in their various dream states. And the production design is also really fascinating. They're kind of presenting the world of the show as being kind of a alternate version of our own. There's just subtle differences and maybe some not so subtle differences that kind of make it a bit like a dystopia, but very
so kind of like Black Mirror-ish.
Black Mirror-ish, yeah. So just like on the whole, the world looks the same as ours, but there's slightly dystopian touches in the background that kind of draw your eye and kind of make you go, ooh, okay, that's kind of a weird change from real life.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I highly recommend it. I mean, whether you go through it all in a day like I did, very very irresponsibly, it basically plays like a giant movie in that fashion, or you can kind of knock episodes out one after the other. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's a limited series, so they won't be doing like a new season. It's kind of a one-off, just that one block of episodes, which
that's good.
I kind of like. It's there's been a few shows like that on Netflix over the past couple of years. Another one that I watched was this one with Jeff Daniels and Michelle Dockery, is a Western show.
Right.
But tell me a little bit about VIFF, because you definitely. How many films did you end up catching there?
Okay, so I've caught 4 so far, but I have quite a few more to go. We're kind of right in the smack dab middle of it. I'm taking a break today, obviously, because I learned my lesson last year when I went gung-ho too gung-ho.
How many did you do in a day last, like what was your max in a day?
The max I can do is 2. I can't do 3. Like 2 melts my brain already, and we'll get to that later, but 3 is just ridiculous. And plus I don't have that much time in the day unless it's a weekend. And usually I think the selection at VIFF can be limited at times if you're looking for certain films. Mm-hmm. So even then, like, trying to get 3 in a day is hard because there might not be 3 films in a day that I want to see.
Right.
I have noticed that, though, recently, like, film festival films have gotten longer. And so it's very hard for me to sit through even 2 movies now sometimes.
Yeah, because it adds up to like 5 hours overall?
Basically, yeah. And some of these venues aren't very comfortable. They don't necessarily start on time. The crowd kind of drives me crazy with how much they clap. So, yeah, 2 is the most I can do. I haven't scheduled any like 2-a-days this year. And so that's kind of worked out pretty good for me because I've still managed to get tickets to all the movies I wanted to go see. There is a documentary about Big Country, the basketball player, the former Vancouver Grizzly, that I unfortunately did not get tickets to, but that was kind of a late addition to the festival. The VIFF isn't like TIFF. VIFF is not, it's not an A-list film festival, so everything's kind of like off the cuff. But anyway, on to the films.
Yeah, so the one that I saw you post about on Letterboxd was this one, Colette, with Keira Knightley and Dominic West.
Yes.
You've married a literary entrepreneur.
You've married a country girl without a penny to her name.
We're doomed, aren't we?
Willie is a brand. I take all the risk and there's still no money. We need more output.
You could write.
It's like one of Keira Knightley's many period films.
I was about to say, like, I almost didn't want to watch this because I am not the biggest fan of period films, especially English period films, even though Colette's about a French lady, actually. But I was kind of curious because everyone said Keira Knightley was good. And it's about this author named Colette, obviously, who is a very famous French author who kind of like in Amy Adams and Big Eyes was kind of the ghostwriter for her husband. And her husband basically ended up taking all the credit, basically becoming a slave driver, making her write all the time. She ends up developing a lesbian relationship with another woman. And yeah, basically that's the gist of the movie. It's a pretty straightforward biopic. I have noticed this year that like a lot of period films have lesbian relationships in them. I have no idea why, but it seems just like a common thread between this and The Favorite. But yes, I gave it 3 out of 5, as you mentioned, because it's a very straightforward biopic. I thought Keira Knightley was okay. I think she's at her best when she's like bitching about something.
Yeah.
She throws really good hissy fits. Dominic West has the meatiest role, character-wise, in my opinion, but I don't think he was right for that role. A lot of the secondary characters aren't very well developed. They're not very interesting. Certain things are just kind of glossed over. Its pacing is a little poor. So generally speaking, I didn't enjoy it that much. It's an okay film though. Like if you're into that period and into that kind of story, I think it's a passable movie. There are certain moments in there that are kind of entertaining.
Right. Yeah, that's sort of what I expected just from the couple of stills that I saw and that kind of thing. Like that,
right.
It's kind of catering to a particular audience.
Yes, 100%. And I do feel like Keira Knightley's really pigeonholed herself as a period actress.
Yeah, unfortunately so. I mean, she's played around with like contemporary roles. There was that
a little bit, yeah.
You know, she did that one she did with. I know you hate Mark Ruffalo, but yeah. she did this movie in 2014 called Begin Again. That she plays this folk singer in New York, and it's contemporary New York, and she sort of becomes the new muse for a down on his luck record producer played by Mark Ruffalo. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that one. It was by an Irish director that I really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, she her kind of comfort zone is definitely the period stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if she likes doing those films or if people just ask her to do those films all the time. It's probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
It's a really flat film. I don't think it's particularly entertaining. It's definitely not going to get any awards buzz for her. even though people have praised her performance. And it's definitely not as good as The Favorite, which is the newest film by Yorgos Lanthimos.
It is important to make new friends in court, is it not?
You're so beautiful. Stop it, you mock me. If I were a man, I would ravish you.
You have become close to Abigail.
She is a viper. You're jealous.
Our favorite Greek director.
I've heard of The Favorite. I love Yorgos Lanthimos. Yeah.
Was it showing at TIFF?
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was ready in time or
Oh.
something. There were trailers coming out around about the time the TIFF was on and that kind of thing. But yeah, it didn't have a showing here.
Okay. Right off the bat, I can say that it's not nearly as good as his two previous films.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was Killing of a Sacred Deer. And what was the other one?
The Lobster.
The Lobster, right. It's definitely not as weird. So the story is about Queen Anne, who is played beautifully by Olivia Colman. She is going to get awards buzz for sure. She was excellent.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And it's about Rachel Weisz, who plays, I think she's like the Duchess of Marlborough or something like that.
Yeah, one of those courtiers.
Yeah, exactly. And Emma Stone, who was, I think, like an aristocrat or something like that. And then she becomes a maid in the house, and she kind of climbs through the ranks, and it's the rivalry between her and Rachel Weisz, and they're trying to get into Queen Anne's good graces, basically. It is part comedy, part drama. Again, one of those films that's hard to define like a certain genre for it. It has that trademark staccato dialogue that you really have to listen carefully to catch some of the jokes, and some of them are quite funny.
Sort of more of the kind of timing that Lanthimos uses in his other films, or is it a bit different?
No, it's quite similar. It's a really sharp back and forth, quite quick.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Kind of West Wing-ish, but not really.
Oh, some like walk and talk kind of stuff.
A little bit of walk and talk, or doing something and talking. It's split into, I believe, 8 parts, and each part is kind of like a little vignette, and it draws out the rivalry between Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz. The problem with this film, though, is that anytime Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz aren't on the screen together, or if either of them aren't on the screen, it automatically becomes a less interesting movie. So it's definitely buoyed by their two performances and Olivia Colman. It's also one of those films, Lanthimos films, that kind of doesn't really have an ending over, I think it's a 2-hour runtime. So the first 90 minutes were really great. But the last 30 minutes kind of drags on, where the rivalry is kind of settled. And I think he runs into the problem where he doesn't quite know how to end the film.
Okay.
So it just kind of ends abruptly. And you almost sit there going like, wow, I'm glad that last 30 minutes didn't drag on, because it really could have sunk the film.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There are some ridiculous moments in it, as always with Lanthimos' films, but the performance was great. The production design is definitely good. I don't remember him doing this, but he uses the fisheye lens a lot in this film.
Oh, interesting.
I couldn't quite figure out what he was trying to do, but it's there and it's apparent. I think Emma Stone really knocks it out of the park. She's really funny and quite dramatic in this one. And this is another period film that I saw that had a lesbian relationship in it.
It's like a theme.
And I was like, I was watching this. I'm thinking to myself, I was like, when did period pieces have like lesbians in it as like a requirement? I feel it was just really funny to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think because there's another one too. This one with Chloe Sevigny and Kristen Stewart. That's it
right.
Didn't come to TIFF, but it's called Lizzie, and it's again
right.
It's another period film with a lesbian relationship at its core.
Okay.
And I think maybe there's just a bit of a thing right now with screenwriters and movies in production where LGBT films that were more contemporary, like 20th century and beyond, obviously had a bit of a time in the sun, but I think some people are going back over academic books and older works and kind of saying that, hey, this isn't some 20th century development or anything. It's it's been happening through these relationships have been happening through all of human history,
right?
And they color some of the history that we think we know.
It's at least a 4 out of 5, maybe 4.5 out of 5. I haven't really decided it, but I think it's worth seeing. And I think you should go see it.
Oh yeah, no, I was already planning to. I mean, after enjoying The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer, I'm like becoming a Lanthimos fan for sure.
Yeah, his films kind of take a while to like decompress and kind of unwind.
Yeah, they're not for everybody.
No, but thinking back, I almost feel like Killing of a Sacred Deer is my favorite Lanthimos film.
Oh yeah,
I love The Lobster, but I really like slowly fallen in love with Sacred Deer. It unfortunately doesn't have Colin Farrell, but Nicholas Hoult, he's the male lead, I guess, or the male with the biggest part. He's quite funny in this, and he kind of plays like an adversarial role. The plot itself isn't that interesting, so that's why you watch it for Vice and Stone. But the best film I saw so far at VIFF is Shoplifters.
Oh, yeah, the one that won the Palme d'Or at Cannes.
Yes. Okay, so this is a Japanese film starring Lily Frankie, who is like this really talented Japanese singer, actor, illustrator, jack of all trades type person. And it's a bit of a slow burn film, but it's basically about this family that lives in this like shack in Tokyo. And to get by, he and his kid, Shota, they go and shoplift. And one day they meet this really young girl who comes from an abusive family, and they end up adopting her without really telling anyone. And they live with their grandma and Lily Frankie's wife, I guess you could say, and another lady who is known just as she's like the big sister. It's an interesting film. It takes a while to get going. It really does. That was maybe my one gripe, because if it was edited so that they kind of bounced around in the timeline, kind of like Manchester by the Sea, I think it could have been a little more effective, because it starts slow and then it just like it hits the brakes in the middle when you discover the twist, and then it just ramps up from there, and it kind of turns into a different kind of movie. The first part is a bit of a slow burn drama. The second part almost feels like I don't want to give too much away, but almost like a criminal investigation type film where you're still trying to figure out what each character is about.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so if you know anything about Japan, like they're one of the countries, I think the only country actually, with a negative birth rate. So a lot of the plot revolves around this grandma who owns the shack and her relationships with all these people. It explores a lot, but I think it's just worth watching just to see a different kind of film that we're not used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to see it at TIFF actually, but the jimmying around the schedule to account for all the stuff, I just could not fit it in. But
I will say though, like even though it won the Palme d'Or, very few films that have won the Palme d'Or like end up winning a lot at the Oscars, right?
True, yeah.
This is, I think, going to be nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. I would hesitate to say it would win, because I do have certain issues about how it's structured and the pacing of the film, but it's quite minor. But at the same time, if this is the best film that VIFF has to offer this year, I do think this year's festival is a little slightly weaker, having seen the Florida Project last year, which I think blew me away.
Right. Oh yeah, of course. I remember when we were talking about VIFF, and yeah, Florida Project was fresh on your mind, and yeah.
Yes, I do want to touch on one other film, and that's Under the Silver Lake.
Who moves out in the middle of the night?
Nothing strange about it. She wanted to leave. How does that not make sense?
I don't understand why she didn't tell me.
Maybe she didn't like you. Maybe she knows you're poor and haven't paid your rent.
Oh yeah, because I was going to see that one with you if I had been able to continue on to Vancouver.
Yes, this is a film by I think his name's Robert David Mitchell or David Robert Mitchell.
Yes, yeah, second one.
Yeah, okay. I can never get his name quite
Those
right.
triple name dudes.
Yeah, he's got like a horror film veteran type. And it stars Andrew Garfield as this basically burnout millennial in LA who meets this lovely neighbor played by the lovely Riley Keough. And after sort of like a romantic night, he wakes up the next day and she's gone, missing, disappeared, no clue whatsoever. And he kind of starts getting obsessed with this girl. So he goes on this kind of treasure hunt where he tries to be the amateur detective and figure out what's going on. And in a very like Inherent Vice kind of vibe, he kind of finds all these clues in the weirdest places and
and stumbles around and doesn't really
and meets weird people, goes to weird places, goes to weird parties. He ends up cracking the mystery. But my main issue with this film is that I found it terrifically boring.
Oh no.
I didn't find the characters interesting at all. So if you're comparing Andrew Garfield to Joaquin Phoenix in Inherent Vice, I don't think there's any comparison. That Inherent Vice is the far superior film and Phoenix is the far superior actor, and the character he plays is far more interesting. The plot itself, I guess it's interesting. A lot of people who are into pop culture might like it a lot more, but it kind of just meanders and there's loose threads everywhere that don't make a lot of sense to me. That I also honestly I didn't care for any of it either. And probably to make the experience worse, I was in this theater called the Rio, which is kind of like a landmark in Vancouver because it's been around for so long. Like famously, it's supported by like Ryan Reynolds, who and Kevin Smith.
Oh yeah, is it one of those kind of old school movie palaces that's been done up a bit?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the few. I think it was the first theater actually to have a liquor license in Vancouver.
Oh, cool. But
anyway, like I went in and it was stuffy, it was hot. I was wearing jeans. I couldn't wait to get out of there, and the movie itself just made it worse. So I don't know if like the venue made me dislike the movie more, or if the movie was just really, really boring to me. But I couldn't wait to get out. And once the credits came up, and it's one of those films that ends kind of on a cliffhanger where it leaves you thinking. I didn't care. I just got out of there as fast as I could.
Well, I mean,
mind you, like a lot of people in the theater that I sat in apparently really liked it. So maybe I'm missing something or they're stupid.
They have no taste.
Yeah, because to me, it's a bit of a mess of a film. I have heard that the director had to like recut certain parts of it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. It was scheduled for release a little bit earlier this year. I don't think they were aiming for festival season at all. They were going to bring it to a general kind of release of some sort, or maybe just a limited one. But then I think they did a couple test screenings, and the initial response was kind of poor, so they turned around and they recut it. So I'm not sure what they changed.
Okay. Well, I'd hate to see the original version, because if this, I don't know if I saw the new or the old version, but if this is the new version, man, the old version must be awful. Like if you're gonna watch this type, it has a very Inherent Vice vibe, but it also has the Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, that kind of vibe as well, that kind of humor. But it doesn't work for me. It's not interesting. It's not captivating. It's not tense. There's thriller elements in it, but I didn't care for any of it.
That's too bad. Well, I mean, I might check it out on streaming when it becomes available, and sort of see if I watch it from the comfort of my own couch, will that kind of address some of the issues you were having with the venue? We'll have to report back on that.
If you're buzzing right now, sorry, it's because a plane is flying.
It's like circling right over your apartment.
Yeah, no, well, because like I'm close to the water, and there are like helicopters and planes and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and so once in a while you'll be able to hear it. So if you guys hear it, sorry about that.
Extra sound effects.
Exactly. Okay, that's not the sound a plane makes, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean that it sounds like you've kind of had a mediocre entry into the festival so far.
So far.
But for my part, like this year's run at TIFF was pretty strong. I would say it wasn't quite as full of possible buzz-making kind of movies as my experience was last festival.
Yeah, do you think it's because this year has been weak, or is it because all the good stuff hasn't come out yet? Because we've got a lot of stuff coming out.
It might be the latter, actually. There's a lot of good stuff coming out, and like, to be honest, whenever I'm trying to like fill out my roster at TIFF, I'm trying to avoid the movies that I know are going to open wide in a couple of weeks after TIFF anyway. Because there's like, these festivals, especially with TIFF, because of the selection that they bring, they're in many cases they're screening stuff that's going to be really hard to get later on. Like it'll never open in Canada again on a big screen, and it may even be hard to order the Blu-ray on Amazon because it'll be like a $60 import or something. So it's not not something you really want to gamble on. So yeah, I try, stuff like First Man or...
First Man is such Oscar bait.
Yeah, it's Oscar bait, but like I'm not going to see First Man or A Star is Born or any of those things at TIFF, even though they're showing there.
Right, yes.
So what I did end up seeing, though, was the movie that's actually probably the closest competitor to Shoplifters, and that would be Burning. A Korean film.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I see that Sunday.
Oh, really? Okay, so we'll have to circle back on that one maybe. So I won't go too deep into it now. But it's interesting that you mentioned the 2-part structure of Shoplifters, because I feel like Burning has a lot in common with that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to circle around on that. But then some of the other things I ended up seeing were Alfonso Cuarón's film Roma. It's going to be a wide release, but it is a Netflix acquisition, so it's going to pop up on Netflix in November, I believe.
Okay, and how was that?
It was beautiful.
Oh,
it's shot in black and white. Cuarón is like he's coming back and telling a story in 1970s Mexico, kind of inspired by his own life, but it's not entirely clear which character in the movie he's supposed to be, but you kind of think that maybe he's one of the children in the family that forms the central group of characters in the movie.
Okay.
But the main story is set around the maid or the live-in housekeeper that works for this family. And they live in Mexico City. The dad is a university professor. The mom is also, I think, an academic of some kind. And they live in this kind of walled compound in Mexico City. And the movie just kind of depicts a year in the life of this family. Kind of coming and going through this busy house. The dog's always trying to get out into the street. The dad and the mom fight over things. And then the maid is kind of observing all of this coming and going and having dramas of her own, a disagreement with her boyfriend and a pregnancy that she didn't expect.
This sounds like a BBC period TV show.
Yeah, so I guess yeah, you're not wrong, but no, the way Cuarón kind of immerses you in it, and the cinematography and the kind of just the depth of the observations that he's making, you just get totally lost in it. And it's a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours long, but
oh damn,
yeah. So it's a bit of a commitment, but I don't know. I think it's definitely going to be Mexico's submission for best foreign language film, and I highly recommend it. Even if you like end up waiting for it to hit Netflix and you split it up over the course of a couple of nights, it's definitely worth it. 2
films I want to ask you about, actually.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I watched them, but shoot.
Well, yeah, you have, because I'm stalking your letterbox.
Oh,
right
okay.
Widows?
My husband left me the plans for his next job. All I need is a crew to pull it off.
Why should we trust you anyway?
Because I'm the only one standing between you and a bullet in your head.
Widows, yeah. So I ranked that number 4 out of the 15 that I saw.
15? Holy crap. Okay, so what was great and not so good about Widows?
So Widows was really strong. I mean, we've never seen... This is Steve McQueen writing and directing, previously from movies like...
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Shame and Hunger and 12 Years a Slave. He did really well at the Oscars with that most recent film, 12 Years a Slave. But now he's tackling a genre that we've never really seen him try before, and that of the heist movie. And this is a movie set in Boston depicting a heist that goes wrong and how the widows of the three guys implicated in the heist who die, how they have to pick up the pieces of the heist and try to complete it, or complete the next heist that was planned. In an effort to pay down their husband's creditors.
Oh,
and then it weaves in like stories about the local political race that's happening there, the municipal race, and how the local politicians who are corrupt are tied into the lives of these criminals. And, the three women played by Viola Davis, Elizabeth Debicki, and Michelle Rodriguez are not criminally savvy. They were just kind of observers to their husband's activities, so they have to try to figure out how to pull off a really brazen heist with no training. So this isn't some like Ocean's 11 kind of deal where you've got like pro criminals who are just slickly going through the motions.
Oh, nice.
And it is fantastically acted. Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out and Black Panther, he plays a absolutely twisted villain. Just like he's bad news the second he comes into frame before he's ever done anything, and that just carries on through right to the end. All sorts of other great people in this: Liam Neeson, Robert Duvall, Colin Farrell.
Yes, Colin Farrell.
Yeah, it's just overflowing with great talent. Beautifully shot, really tense. The heist itself, the McQueen keeps you waiting for it for a very long time, and when he actually depicts it, it's super fast compared to what you typically expect from the heist genre in general. So it just kind of goes, and then you're on to the consequences.
So I have to say, for Steve McQueen, he is one of those directors has like a really good feel for how his audience is feeling. I've never ever felt his films were boring or slow. Like his pacing is really good, eh?
Oh yeah, and I mean, I think that works for him in the heist movie specifically. But yeah, you think back about 12 Years a Slave and how he really made you understand the implications of that 12 years that Chiwetel Ejiofor's character spends as a slave. Like the way he used music and film editing to draw it out and kind of make you say, oh, wow, okay, he's not just this is a free man who's subjected to this horrific thing for a really long period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other one I actually wanted to watch or ask you about, and I'm going to watch this on the last day of VIFF, is The Front Runner.
We can't hide from this.
We're gonna run to
The cameras go everywhere.
all on that day.
It's up to us to hold these guys accountable.
Just because some other paper used gossip as front page news, I mean, that doesn't mean we have to.
It does. It does now.
Oh, yeah. So this is the new movie from Jason Reitman. Most people will know from movies like Juno and Up in the Air. He's a Canadian filmmaker. Go Canada!
Agreed.
So I'm always happy to see a new movie from Jason Reitman. He's had a few misfires.
I agree.
I'm still a defender of his movie from, I think it was 2014, Men, Women, and Children. He got a bad rap on that one for kind of making what some people felt was a bit of a hand-wringing kind of movie about internet culture and the way parents deal with kids on the internet.
That's another theme these days, internet culture.
So like that one, I still really believe that there's a lot of good stuff in that movie that people may have misread. But here in The Front Runner, he's doing a political history film.
Yes.
And he's getting into the presidential campaign of Gary Hart, who ran for president in the 80s.
Yes.
And he was as the title suggests, the front runner for the Democratic ticket. Senator from Colorado who's like super handsome, really all about the policy. He's got lots of very progressive ideas for what he wants to do as president, but he doesn't ever want to talk about his family or anything that's like intimate to him. To him, that's like, politicians should be focusing on the issues. They should not be talking about themselves. And this gets him into trouble because it kind of it encourages reporters to wonder, well, if he doesn't want to talk about personal stuff, what's he hiding?
Uh-huh.
And then it turns out that there's a long list of affairs that he's been covering up. And the movie kind of explores all right, this is the 80s we're in now, not the 60s. In the 60s, America kind of tolerated the fact that JFK, for example, had a lot of mistresses. Some of them, a lot of the affairs happened in the White House, and it was just kind of people looked the other way. But now in the 80s, people seem to take that kind of stuff a little bit more seriously, as if it's like it's a commentary, like a candidate having an affair is a commentary on their moral values. And the movie it wants to kind of ask that question, and maybe even kind of make a statement about where we are right now as a people and the way we handle our politicians in 2018. So yeah, I can't say it really makes a solid argument one way or the other.
Okay.
But I kind of liked it.
Was it preachy though?
There were a few speeches in there, but nothing too kind of banging you over the head with a particular idea. I think a few people got kind of annoyed because it felt a little bit paint by numbers when it comes to that type of movie, an ensemble piece about politics, about a campaign. There's a lot of characters in it. It can be hard to keep track of what roles everybody has in each other's campaigns and all that stuff. But yeah, I like Hugh Jackman in it. He's the lead as Gary Hart. Lots of other great performers in it. So if you go in for these kind of political / journalism movies, it's not one you want to miss.
So of all the films that you saw at TIFF, was there any performance or film that made you think it was awards worthy?
Roma, definitely, just for the cinematography and directing. Widows also, I think, might have a bit of a showing, but it's hard to know what categories it'll go for. Maybe picture, I don't know. So, I mean, as for some of the other stuff I saw that might be awards worthy, I mean, you have The Old Man and the Gun from David Lowery. This is
right, Robert Redford.
Robert Redford's last film. Very good stuff, very enjoyable, big crowd pleaser type of a movie.
I was going to go see it. I couldn't figure it out in my schedule, though. But I've also heard that Robert Redford isn't exactly retired. I think he walked back to his comments after.
Yeah, I mean that's not entirely unexpected given how energetic he is in this one. I mean he's and how he's the dude's still got a lot of energy for all his other projects. So
right,
yeah.
The Sisters Brothers.
We're the Sisters Brothers. Sisters. Like sisters. We're looking for a man named Warm.
We stole something from our employer.
We have enough money to stop for good.
Stop what?
Killing people.
Yeah, right.
The Sisters Brothers I really liked. It was very unexpected, though. A Western movie.
In what sense?
It's a Western, and it's directed by a French guy, Jacques Audiard. And apparently Jacques Audiard is a big name in French cinema. Like he's like
right. Okay.
People really like his stuff. But so this is his first movie in English, and he's got Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly playing a pair of brothers whose last name is Sisters.
Okay.
Sisters Brothers, and it kind of charts their ambling kind of ass backwards kind of way of being mercenaries in Oregon in the 1850s, 1860s.
Okay.
So the thing that makes it kind of an unexpected ride is the fact that unlike a typical Western where, you set up your anti-heroes, you give them some crowd of characters who are a lot worse than them, morality-wise, and eventually it all comes to blows in a big gunfight towards the end of the movie. This one isn't really like that. It has these two anti-heroes, obviously they're not the greatest dudes in the world because they, wantonly murder and booze up and all that stuff. But they're told by their employer, played by Rutger Hauer, to go after this prospector, played by Riz Ahmed, who apparently has this formula for panning for gold that will make it way easier to find the gold in the riverbed. And they have to track him across all this open territory and then team up with this private investigator played by Jake Gyllenhaal to track this prospector down. And what comes over the course of their search and, the various changing alliances between the brothers and the other characters is a lot of like introspection. The brothers spend a lot of time talking about their relationship with their father, the way they feel about things, their inner thoughts. It spends a lot of time talking about, things, or just talking in general, which,
yes.
to be honest, in Western films, we don't really see a lot of. It tends to be more action focused. So it's kind of a nice change of pace. There's still plenty of violence. There's a little bit of a few gunfights. There's a kind of a slightly disturbing scene towards the end when they finally discover the implications of how Riz Ahmed's secret formula works.
Like gory?
A little bit gory actually. Yeah. So
okay.
It's got to do with chemicals and stuff. But
oh god.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of goes down that road. But I would definitely recommend it. It's especially if you like the Western genre and you want something a little bit different.
Yeah, that was another film I wanted to see here at VIFF, but I just couldn't fit into the schedule. And I took into account that you already saw these films, so I can always just ask you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's better that way if I see something that you haven't seen and that you have seen that I haven't seen. Obviously, it's great to like compare notes and whatnot.
Sure.
But, I mean, eventually I'll see all these, but at these festivals, I want to catch the films that are a little more limited.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well,
so we cover all our bases.
I mean, I could keep talking forever about all the stuff I saw because, again, it was 15 movies. There's something to say about each one. But I will give you a quick rundown on the worst one I saw.
Oh, yes. That was my next question. I love
really?
it. Well, because Rob, I always love asking you about what you think is terrible.
Oh, yeah. This is a candidate. So this movie is called Out of Blue.
Out of Blue. Two out of 5 stars for you.
Yeah, honestly, I should have gone lower, but in retrospect. But first of all, the title doesn't make any sense. Where's the?
Oh,
why isn't it Out of the Blue? I mean, come on. So this is a movie that it stars Patricia Clarkson. Do you know her?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, she's
great, actually.
Yeah, she's a character actress. I mean, she's not somebody that the average person on the street would be able to place. But I think movie buffs are pretty familiar with her because she's got a history of playing like
she's got it. Yeah, I was gonna say
moms and military officers and like sort of people who are kind of strong-willed women who are secondary to the main characters in a given movie,
but also a little tired of everything. A strong character that's worn down.
Yeah, that's a good description. So here she's kind of doing a bit of a career shift in the sense that she's actually leading a film for once. And she's playing a detective in New Orleans in like, I guess, post-Katrina, so like post-2005. But it's not entirely clear when the movie is set. All we know is that there's like rolling blackouts going on throughout the movie that are poorly explained. They never say whether it's to do with like the hurricane or something. And the movie is kind of like, it takes the concept of a typical noir film with like a solo lone wolf style detective trying to crack a cold murder case and blends it with astrophysics.
Okay.
So you've got, and this is why I kind of selected it, because I was a little bit intrigued by the weirdness of the premise. So Patricia Clarkson's detective character has to solve the murder of an astrophysicist played by Mamie Gummer, one of Meryl Streep's kids. This leads her on this kind of strange path through like events that are cosmically linked and her own childhood, which she can't remember. She's like an amnesiac, but you don't really, you're never really told that she is an amnesiac. It's just kind of all very hazy. And boy, is this movie hard to watch. It
sounds complicated already.
It's like, but the stupid thing is that the plot is not that complicated. Like the resolution of the murder is really not that complicated. You just always feel like the movie is just holding back information. And it's just going to reveal it in a very cliched manner. There's going to be a few red herrings along the way, and then the detective is going to have the light bulb moment, and the murder is solved. So then the movie tries to be a little bit more complicated by working in this backstory to the detective and making that is that the real mystery? Like, who was she all along?
This kind of reminds me of Under the Silver Lake, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little bit.
So the movie is like, I don't know, it's maybe an hour and 40, but it feels like 2.5 hours.
Oh, those are the worst.
It like you're just literally looking at your watch. Patricia Clarkson does her best, but I don't think it's her fault. I think the script is just completely impenetrable. It's full of really weird character moments, characters that yell for no reason. The footage, the actual like visuals they kind of alternates between like as if a film student was giving their first attempt at like a really pretty first film, but it ends up looking like a late night comedy special short.
Okay.
It's just like it's like the footage is really colorful, but the sets are really boring and they look like Saturday Night Live's backgrounds. The main character is just a complete cipher. It's this horrific, monstrous blob of stuff. And I challenge anyone to track it down and tell me what I'm missing here, because
that's too bad. I do like Patricia Clarkson. She's in that like Laura Dern level of actresses for me, where like they've really hung around for a long time and they consistently put in really good performances. It was kind of weird to see Patricia Clarkson highlighting like a police crime type movie. It doesn't seem like something she'd normally go for, but hey.
Yeah, this is why you go to TIFF, you never know what you're going to see.
Exactly, you never know.
Because I teased it in the opening, I thought I'd talk about this thing that's kind of been irritating me about Netflix recently, and their approach to festival movies. And I don't know, maybe this is me being old fashioned, but
probably,
but obviously Netflix is a big entertainment company, and they got to go where the business is, and they've decided that they've got to start snapping up these festival movies, when they hit the market, and scheduling various streaming dates for them. And I don't know, it's kind of bumming me out that Netflix is doing so well in this space. They seem to gobble up like a solid handful of some of the best or the most interesting titles before they come to festivals, and you end up like feeling like you're watching Netflix in public, where you sit down to a festival movie and you get the Netflix logo off the top and you're like, man, why did I waste $25 or $20 on this ticket? If I could have just waited a few weeks and it was going to be at home.
Although I was going to say there's something to be said about watching something on a big screen though.
True. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I would almost be happier if like a traditional distributor, or like, not necessarily a big studio like Fox or Disney or something like that, but an indie distributor like A24 or Annapurna picked it up instead. But I guess, Netflix is kind of in that category with those indie distributors now, and they're making very lucrative bids for some of these things. Mm-hmm. And then they will schedule that streaming date, and then they keep saying, oh yeah, we're going to bring this to theaters normally after the festival, and there'll still be a chance to see it on the big screen before you get it as part of your membership. But I feel like they're doing that more in the States. They're being kind of timid about it. We're not seeing those kind of screenings in Canada. So it's just, I don't know. I feel like we're in a bit of a transitional period where they haven't fully achieved what they're planning. But in this kind of time where they're figuring things out, it makes me feel like I'm wasting my money a bit.
Well, I'll tell you what's a bigger waste. What will be a bigger waste of my money is with all these streaming websites and streaming apps. We're going back to cable, aren't we?
Basically, yeah. I mean, you look at...
Like, it sucks, man. I was reading this article about how, like, torrenting has become much popular again.
Yeah.
Because people just refuse to pay so much money for different streams and exclusive content.
Yep.
And you're just like, man, we're never going to break out of this cycle, eh? Like,
this long battle.
All these, like, companies and telecom companies, just, like, they want everything to be exclusive. They want them to be your only expense or a customer or whatever. And I think it just drives everyone nuts.
Well, does it drive everyone nuts though? Because I mean, I feel like we're very sensitive to this stuff because we're watching the industry pretty hard. But then your average consumers out there, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to sign up for another one of these. I got to get that show that I want to watch.
I think that's changing. I think some people are unwilling to splurge on those different streams, especially if they don't have any particularly good IPs. I just overheard on the radio today someone bitching about how Amazon doesn't have anything good, which is untrue. I disagree, but I see their point, because isn't Apple having a lot of trouble developing their own IPs?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, they've made some interesting purchases, and they've hired some personalities to develop stuff for them. But right now, I think their pickings are very slim compared to their competitors.
Yeah, and I mean, Amazon has the rights to the Tolkien stuff, right? Tolkien.
Yeah, and they're working on that. So and now Netflix has they announced yesterday or the day before that they're going to take on the Narnia properties.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yes,
it's going to be a big fantasy fight in the coming years.
Yeah, I'm tired of all these reboots, Rob. Like I get fatigued, I think, quicker than most people. But I'm already getting to my limit. Like I don't want to see a reboot. I don't want to see a remake. Like give me something truly original.
And the thing that's getting me is like it's getting so siloed off. So like you're going to have the Disney streaming service that will just be Disney movies for kids, and
they can't even have Star Wars until like 2022 or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, Jon Favreau has just announced that he's doing this. Well, everyone knew he was already working on it, but then he announced the title of the thing and released a first image and a brief plot description of what's being called The Mandalorian, which is going to be a Western-influenced gunslinger set in the world of Star Wars kind of movie. Which, to me, that sounds amazing. That like I really want to watch that. But it's going to be an exclusive to Disney. So do I really how much do I really care to get that one show?
Yes.
And, the few other things that they'll have available, they'll probably have more Marvel products on that service as well. Don't really want the extra $10 a month. It's definitely a property. The Star Wars TV show, The Mandalorian, it's going to be, it's like crack for the Star Wars fans who love the Boba Fett character and they want another character like that. And there's never been a live action Star Wars TV show before. So it's got a lot of promise, but yeah, do you get over that hump? Do you decide to add that to your credit card bill?
Yeah, that's going to be a big decider, I think.
And then I guess down the road too, I mean, we're probably going to be in this world of like the various streaming services starting to eat each other, where they'll actually start making acquisitions. They'll start like gobbling each other up.
That's when they're really out of ideas, when they start gobbling each other up.
And the other thing I miss out on too, and again, this is probably my age speaking more than anything, this golden era of TV first got started back in I would say, around HBO probably started it with stuff like The Wire and The Sopranos. And then you had on network TV, you had Lost come along in 2004. Back then, there was still a lot of commonality between what people were watching. And now it's hard to find anybody in your office or with your friend group who has watched the same thing as you have. And everyone's a fan of their own little handful of specific things. And sometimes there's a bit of crossover. You get a really big show like Game of Thrones that everyone watches or something like that. I don't know. We're divided people in this cultural landscape.
Yeah, to say the least.
Did you? And well, I mean, this just popped into my head because of the Star Wars connection. But did you see how apparently it was Russian trolls that were providing about 50% of the hate towards The Last Jedi?
Yes,
online?
I did see that. That headline gave me a bit of a chuckle.
It makes me feel good, but also bums me out a bit.
Why does it bum you out?
Just that, why do the Russians care?
Because they're undermining and is it subversion of the American pop culture and American politics?
I guess so.
And honestly, in North America, pop culture is a huge thing, but it's not like this anywhere else, in my experience. This meme stuff.
Oh, the meme stuff. Yeah, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, the meme stuff. All this social media stuff, all this celebrity beef, and all these all the stuff that comes with pop culture and how it informs our social consciousness. I don't really feel it anywhere else. It might be just because it's so pervasive in North America. Hollywood's everywhere. Entertainment and media is everywhere. But it's not the same in a lot of Asian countries or even in Europe, where I feel they're just more worried about other things.
They get outside more often.
Yeah, that's part of it. Escapism is so huge in North America. It's kind of weird. Someone should do a study about pop culture and how much of an impact it has on our society,
Yeah, if they haven't already. But I mean, yeah,
yeah, that's true.
It's almost like we've created a toxic social fabric that people need to flee from.
Yeah, for sure. We've created this social media technology monster and we don't know how to deal with it. And the Russians, to the Russians' credit, they're freaking smart about this stuff, you know?
Yeah. On that very uplifting note, maybe we'll end the episode right there. So head on over to kinetoscope.ca, where I've posted 4 fresh reviews. Well, not so fresh reviews now. 4 reviews of some of the stuff that I saw at TIFF, if you want to explore that in a bit more detail. And I think Jason might be posting some stuff about VIFF if he gets a chance in the coming days. So keep an eye out for that.
For sure.
So until the next time, my name is Robert Snow in Toronto.
And my name is Jason Chen in Vancouver. Thank you for listening.